Good day everyone. So for this video, I'm going to discuss with you the introduction to PHP. Alright, so for this video, our outline will be like this. We're going to define what is PHP, why do we need to use PHP, and what's new about this version, how do we install PHP into our computers, what's the syntax of a basic PHP script, and then we'll discuss about comments so that you could relate this to the other programming languages that you might already know how to use at this point. We'll also define the variables in PHP as well as how do we display outputs using echo and print. So first, let me start with the definition of what is PHP. So PHP is the acronym for PHP Hypertext Processor. So it's actually a server scripting language. It's used to create dynamic and interactive web pages, and it's very powerful. It's widely used. It's also for free because it's open source, so you can download and use it for free. And the scripts are executed on the server side. So this one you're going to learn and relate to, understand how it works as we start or as we continue with our discussion on PHP. So let me first give you an example of a PHP code. So as you can see here, we have an HTML file, and inside the HTML file is a PHP script or a code. So if you're going to look into this particular code here, we have a PHP script, and it starts with the less than or the angle bracket followed by the question mark, and then PHP just to inform the compiler that this is a PHP code. And then we have echo, which is used to display, and then you have the text, which is hello PHP, okay, with a comma and an exclamation point. And notice how it ends with a semicolon, and then that's it. No, we end it with a question mark and another angle bracket or the greater than sign. And there's notice that there is no space in between that. So that's an example of a PHP script. So if you're going to run this, because if you have a look at the HTML file, there's nothing else before and after it. So this is going to be the only output for this particular code. So you're going to get you're going to display hello PHP on your screen exactly as how it is specified inside the double quotes. So let me further discuss the PHP file. So the PHP file, as based on the previous slide, which showed you an example of a PHP inside an HTML file. So inside your HTML code or page, maybe your text, your HTML code, your CSS, your JavaScript, and your PHP all in one. And it can be found in a PHP file. So the server, what happens here is that the server runs the PHP code, and then the browser receives the output as plain HTML as a result. So you will understand this one later on further as we give you more examples, because inside your PHP code you could actually output or control the HTML tags or whatever it is that you want to put inside your page, integrating HTML, CSS, JavaScript, etc. together in one file, together with your PHP file. So the extension of your PHP file is .php. So you already have that HTML, you already have learned about CSS, and then your JavaScript, and this time your PHP file, and that's the extension of your PHP. So again, as what I have mentioned earlier, PHP can produce dynamic content for web pages. On the server, PHP may open, create, read, write, delete, and close files. It may gather data from forms. So PHP is also capable of exchanging cookies. It also allows you to add, delete, and alter database records, although we might not have the opportunity to discuss or to reach this particular discussion, but if you dig farther into PHP, yes, it also works with databases. No, and I wish we had more time to discuss that. I think we'll only be ending our discussion on the loops. Now, as usage or the usage of PHP to manage user access is also there, and it can also encrypt data. Now, PHP also does not allow for HTML output. It does not only allow, rather. So it also allows you to display images, PDF documents, and even Flash videos, and you can export that inside or as part of your PHP file. Now, any text including XHTML and XML can also be displayed as well. So don't worry, some of these functionalities here are already for advanced users, and as mentioned, we might not have enough time to discuss all of that. I wish we could, but at least you already know that these are the capabilities of your PHP. So, why PHP? So, there are a lot of platforms that supports PHP. So, later on when we get to the point, or I think at this point you have already installed PHP into your computers, you have already seen that PHP is being supported by Windows, Linux, Unix, Mac OS X, etc. Now, so it also works with nearly all servers in use today. So whether we talk about Apache, IIS, or etc., it is also compatible with a variety of databases in case we get to the point of discussing that. Or in the future, if you want to dig further about PHP, please remember that it's capable with a variety of databases, and that's another factor why PHP is very widely used. Now, PHP is also for free, and unlike other software that wherein we have to pay a subscription, this is for free. You could just visit www.php.net to see the official PHP download page. And this one I have already also shared with you in the classroom. Now, PHP is also simple to learn and performs well on servers. So, what's new? So, at the moment, our current version is version 7. It's significantly faster than the previous version, which was stable. No, that's version 5.6. It has also readily improved error handling in this version. It's also more stringent in terms of type declarations, and there are also new operators in this version, such as the spaceship operator, and so that's basically supported by PHP. Now, so at this point, I'm sure you have already installed PHP, so you would need two things. You need to install or to look for a web host that supports PHP and MySQL or MySQL. Now, if not, you may install PHP and MySQL separately or locally into your computer. And at this point, based on the requirements that I have given you, you should have already done this. So the official PHP website is already shared in the previous slide. That's php.net, and you also have here, I have here on your screen, the installation instructions for PHP in case you want to get to know or to understand the manual installation further. So you have already seen this. Now this is the website for downloading PHP. So as you can see here, the current stable version is 8.1.12, and here you have the version also of when you click Windows downloads. In case you're using Windows, it will bring you to this page, and you can download the zip file of the thread safe version, and that's only equivalent to 29.35 MB. So just follow the instructions that was shared to you in another video, and you're good to go. After that, you need to also install SAMP, the Apache, and this is the website. You have www.apachefriends.org/index.html, and that's the most popular PHP development environment. So If you have already done that, you are ready to learn more about the syntax of PHP. So PHP scripts can be placed anywhere. As already mentioned in the previous slide, it starts with the angle bracket question mark PHP and ends with the question mark angle bracket sign. So I also mentioned that the extension for your PHP file is .php, and normally it contains HTML tags and some PHP scripting code. So I have here another example. So you have an HTML file, and inside it are not only your usual tags such as the H1 or the heading 1 tag here, but you also have a question mark PHP question mark greater than sign, or the PHP code inside it or embedded inside it. So if you're going to run this code, you will not only display try one PHP page using heading 1 or header 1, but you will also be able to display or see the result of your statement echo hello PHP exclamation point. And so if you just try to understand it, it will first display the heading and then it will perform the PHP script, and so you will have this output on your screen. Alright, so what are the observations that you could have noticed on that particular example? So first is that the PHP statements end with a semicolon. So when we used echo hello PHP here, notice that unlike your other statements on this file, this particular statement of PHP, which is echo hello PHP, ends with a semicolon. Second one is that, and this you will learn as we move further into our discussion, all the keywords, like in the future we'll discuss if, else, while, echo, etc. So right now you have already encountered the predefined word echo. This is not case sensitive. So that means to say whether you use echo in capital letters or small letters echo, or a combination of capital small letters, the result is still going to be the same. So this is hello world. BR here will simply move your cursor to the next line. So it's like a break, using break in HTML functionality. And so after displaying hello world, the cursor will move to the next line, and the second hello world will be displayed on line 2. There will be another break, so cursor will wait on line number 3 and display the third hello world, and the cursor will be on the 4th line, and then that's it. Okay, now notice or remember that in the future, because we will be discussing also variables later on in this video, all variable names are also case sensitive. So if you're going to define size, for instance, so the way you define variables in PHP is by preceding it with a $sign and then the name of the variable. So as what you will also learn later, you don't have to define or specify the data type of that particular variable. So here, size is a variable that is assumed to be a text because its initial value is big. Now, so if you're going to do this and you're going to display or using echo, my car is, and then the value of your variable size. Now you need to put a period just so that the text my car is will have the value, or will be appended with the value of size. And since this is exactly how it is written, the word size here is exactly how it's declared, so it's going to display big. Okay, and then the BR code is interpreted, so the cursor will move to the second line. So the output is my car is big for this first echo statement. For the second echo statement, you're using capital SIZE, and this is a variable that is no longer recognized. And so that's why, because you don't have any declaration of size in capital letters, it doesn't have any value. That's why the second statement, my house is, does not have any it's just left as blank because size here does not contain any value, or rather it is not recognized, or it does not exist. So it will simply not make any error, but it will simply just leave it blank. The same way as the third echo statement, wherein the capital the letter Z is in capital letters. So this is definitely not the same variable as what you have declared here with an initial value of big. So that's why my both is does not also have any output as far as the value of size is concerned. So yeah, all variable names are case sensitive. Now let's move on to comments. We have already declared, or we have already defined how comments are made in PHP, Java, in JavaScript, as well as in CSS. Now this time, understand that your comments in PHP may start with a double slash or with a hashtag or a number sign, and that's a single line comment. Now if you want to have a comment block, you have to use also the same as in the other languages I mentioned earlier. You have to start it with a slash, asterisk, asterisk, slash. Now the next one is our variables in PHP. So in PHP, you simply have to, as mentioned earlier, you simply have to precede it with the $sign. So in this case, school here is a variable with an initial value of Silliman University. So that is assumed to be a text. And then you have rank, which is another variable with an initial value of 4. So that's an integer. And then you have fair, which is equivalent to 15.0. So again, another integer or number. And so to display that these variables, you have to use either echo, or as what you will learn later on, you can also use print. So let's start with echo first. So to display the value of your variable school, you just have to say echo and then the variable name school, starting with a $sign and then the semicolon. So that will display Silliman University. And then since you have BR here, which is an HTML code to move on to the next line, the cursor moves to the second line, displays the value of rank, which is equivalent to 4, and then again perform another break. So the cursor moves to the third line and then display the value of fair, which is equivalent to 15. Now, so always remember that just like any other programming language, if it is a text, you have to enclose it with double quotes. Now, so if you're going to remove the double quote or the second or the closing double quote here in Silliman University, then it's going to cause an error. So notably, PHP lacks a command for declaring variables in contrast to other programming languages. So there's no declaration of what is the data type of school, rank, fair. Now, so as soon as you give it a value, it is created. Okay, so some rules for PHP variables. A variable can have a short name, so just like your ABZ or XYZ. Or it could be more descriptive, like fee, QTY, or quantity, and then temp. Now, again, variable names are case sensitive, and for the rules, it has to start with a $sign followed by the name of the variable. It may start or must start with a letter or the underscore character. It cannot start with a number. And it can only contain alphanumeric characters and underscores, A to Z, 0 to 9, and the underscore. So that those are the only characters that are allowed in your variable. And it is case sensitive. So if you declare a variable fee using small letters, you are going to that's going to refer to a different variable name if you're going to type in fee in capital letters. So please remember that the variables in PHP are case sensitive. Now, so no need to declare a variable or declare the data type of the variable. It will automatically be detected as such depending on the initial value that you give it. Now, it also associates a data type to the variable based on its value. All right, so I have more examples here. So here you have PHP, and then you have the variable SCH or school, and you give it an initial value of Siliman U, so that's a text. And in order to display another text with the value of the variable, you simply may use echo, enclose it with a double quote, and then you say I love, and then the variable name, which always starts with a $, and then the exclamation point. So that's one way to display I love Siliman U. And then of course notice that there's an exclamation point because after the variable name here is an exclamation point. So that's exactly how it will be written in your output. Now another way to display the value of a variable within echo is to precede it with a dot. So as you can see here, you have text, which is the variable name here, and then the value is Siliman U. You echo it. Okay, so you enclose I love in double quotes because it's a text, and you want to append the value of the variable text. You can put dot, and then the name of the variable, dot, and then exclamation point. So in other languages, this may be the plus sign, but in PHP, it's just simply a dot or a period. And you will get the same output as the previous code that I have shown you here. Now another way that you can do it, and this time it's for numbers, is you have a variable called price with an initial value of 25, and then you have quantity with an initial value of 3. So you want to display the result of a mathematical equation or formula. So you simply have to say echo price, and then the asterisk for the multiplication sign, and then QTY, and that will simply multiply 25 and 3. So that's why your output is 75. And just follow these particular rules if you're going to display it with a text. So another example here is that you have inside your PHP code, you have h2 /h2. So what happens here is it will not only be displayed in a normal format, but it will be converted into header 2. So that's why it will not display h2 as a text on your screen when you run this code, but it will simply interpret it as an HTML tag, and it will display sample heading in PHP in that particular layout. So it's bigger because it's a heading. And then you have your normal paragraph following it. So you have hello world, and then you have the break. So notice that there's a space between sample heading in PHP because this one is a heading. So naturally, even if you don't put BR or break here, it will skip a line before starting with your paragraph. So after displaying hello world, since we have BR HTML tag, then it will move on to the next line, display this is how we learn PHP with an exclamation point, and then again and interpret another break. And then here is just an example to show you that if you have plenty of parameters in your echo and these are all text, you simply could separate it with a comma, and it will be displayed as one sentence. As you can see, you have here it can, okay, in one double quote, and then also be like this, and the output will just look as normal as any other text that you enclose in double quotes without the comma. Now you also have another example here. So you have 4 variables. The first one is the school, and then the address, and then num1 and num2. So in this case here, you echo, and then you indicate your h2. So this will not be displayed, but rather it will be interpreted like an HTML code. So you have here Domageti City because it's the value of address. So and since it is enclosed with h2 /h2, then it's going to be displayed as a heading 2. And then you have a normal, see, that's a heading, so that's why it's displayed here. And there's a distance between that and the first line, study PHP at Silliman University, because the following line is just a normal text like a paragraph. So it will display study PHP at, and then the value of school, which is Silliman University, and then the break. So that's why the cursor moves to the next line and displays the result of your num1 with an initial value of 5 minus num2. So 5 minus 4 is 1, and that's why you display 1 here on the last line of this code. So I want you to try out these examples. I want you to pause your video, and I want you to make sure that that it works, and that it works as expected. So that was echo, and this time I'm going to teach you how to display the values of your variables using another code in PHP, which is print. So print is another way where you could display something in your PHP code. So not only echo. So this time, here's an example of a code wherein to display something on your screen, you have print. Alright, so you simply have to use print, and then you have so just change the word echo with print exactly the same way, and you have this on your screen. You have an output here in your screen, which is exactly the same as your output had you used echo for this particular code. Now also the same is true for using print to display the value of your variable here. So you have print, and then the value of your address, which is the Dumaguete City, and then you have print study at school. So exactly the same way, you use a dot rather than a plus sign for other languages, and it will display study PHP at Silliman University. And then you can also use print to display the result of a formula using the initial values of your variable. So there's basically no difference in using print or echo. So I want you to, at this point again, try using or changing your code from echo to print, and make sure it works. Okay, so to end this video, I just want to summarize what we have done. So we defined what is PHP, why do we need to use PHP, and what's new in this version. We also discussed, or rather I gave you the link for installing or finding PHP and also SUMP. And we also learned how to you also learned what is the basic PHP script syntax. We also learned how to display or to create comments in PHP, the one line and the block. And we also understood what are or how are variables created in PHP, and how does it work, how is it declared, if do we need to declare it with a data type or not. And so we learned that we don't have to specifically indicate the data type of any variable. We also learned how to use echo and print to output. And that ends this video. More about PHP in the succeeding ones. Thank you.